So Wales are the champions this year in the Six Nations. Let's go through their journey and also talk about how they improved so much from last year. Well, it all started off in Wales, 21-16 against Ireland. But the game wasn't straightforward because the Peter Imani red card after about 14 minutes, that just threw the whole thing up in the air. And actually, Wales were losing at half-time, but tries from North and Louis Rees-Zammit pulled them back into it, got them ahead. And, whilst we're on it, let's talk about North. It was an inspired decision in the end from Pivac to make North a 13 rather than a winger. Was it because he knew he was going to be the best 13? Was it a bit of a punt? Or was it that he maybe wasn't going to start on the wings because you had Adams and Rees-Zammit, and maybe he wanted to include him in the team to keep his morale up, if you like, because we know that psychologically when North gets down, that's when his game goes. So I don't know what the reason was, but whatever it was, it paid off royally, and surely now North is on his way to the British and Irish Lions as a centre who can play wing as well. Anyway, him and Rees-Zammit, who also really lived up to his billing, they scored great tries and they were all the way in the lead right until the last minute where Ireland had a great chance to kick to the corner, maybe nick the win, but Billy Burns, of course, kicks it dead. Terrible mistake. And Wales win, like I said, a little bit of good fortune in that game, but also really good attack as well. And, one of the reasons why Wales have improved so much from last year is their attack. Last year, a lot of them didn't quite know what they were doing, basically. They were almost stopping attacks because they were in the wrong position or people didn't quite know what the other were doing. This year, they've learnt the system and they've put great players like North and Rees-Zammit into space, and therefore you get the tries. 20 tries in total, more than anyone else in the tournament. I think 18 was the next best. France and Scotland both got 18, so the best attack in the Six Nations. On to the second game, even tighter, 25-24, Wales win away to Scotland. And again, they're down at half-time. It's 17-8 to Scotland. But Rees-Zammit actually comes up with a bit of magic. He inserts into the line, and rather than putting his head down and going for it like many youngsters would, he actually sets up the try for Liam Williams on the left. Great try. And then we get to take the lead. Then we get the Xander Fagerson red card for his clear out, and the game, it still is very tight, but they manage to again work the ball to Rees-Zammit on the right this time, I believe. Chips his opposite number, gasses to the line, great try, seals the win. So that was a thriller there. But again, another red card, but when the luck's in, you take it, but they are scoring the tries. Then we had the big one. Wales 40, England 24. Massive scoreboard win for Wales. It was tight at half-time though, and again there were some controversial calls, but take those apart, it was still tight at half-time, and they smashed England in that second half. England melted under the pressure of Wales, who were far superior, far more clinical. And talking of clinical, even though everyone beat Italy really well, Wales played a perfect first half. I've never seen such excellent execution, barely a mistake in that first half. And they clobbered Italy, as everyone did, but it was still impressive in that first half. Finally, we get the Grand Slam match, and France nick it 30-30. Great game. Wales had done everything right. France are a brilliant team. They're always going to be close, but Wales were 10 points up with 10 minutes to go. And then probably Pivac's biggest blunder of the Six Nations. He'd done a lot of things good, but then he changed pretty much everyone, including the likes of Biggar, who were playing really well, brought on a load of subs when they weren't needed at all, really, and the game basically imploded from there. I think they gave away a penalty straight away from some of the subs that had come on, and it ends up in penalty trouble, yellow cards, etc., and Doolan scores in the corner to break the Welsh hearts. But, like I said, the Welsh attack was so good in this Six Nations, their points difference was so massive, it was incredibly unlikely France were ever going to catch them, and they didn't. So Wales take the championship. So I've talked about the attack, but let's mention the defence, which again, so much better this year than last year. They made a bold call. They got rid of Hayward, the defence coach, who Pivac has worked with, he trusted. Clearly something went wrong, maybe even beyond, the team just not getting the defence as such. It'd be interesting to know what the inside track was there, but maybe we'll never know. If you know, pop it in the comments. But anyway, they bring in Gethin Jenkins. What a player he was for Wales. Great defensively, great in the ruck, but a very inexperienced coach. So it was a bold move and a bit of a risk. But it paid off. The Welsh defence was very good, and you look at the stats, they conceded about the same amount of tries as everyone else, 10 and 11, everyone conceded, Italy a lot more obviously. So that was improved and certainly shored up. And then we've got the selection, the injury returns, and some of the players stepping up that Pivac needed. For example, they needed to work out their best front row. They hadn't nailed it down last year. They have now in Wyn Jones, Owens and Francis. Beard also really came of age and put in a big shift using his frame to his full extent. And North to 13, as I mentioned, was immense. Louis Rees-Zammit lived up to the hype. And they managed to get the band back together in the back row, which they hadn't done last year, with Navidi, Tipuric and Faletau, particularly Tipuric and Faletau, who played all the way through the championship, made a massive difference. Because personnel-wise, this isn't a new Welsh side. I mean, they even fielded the most experienced Welsh team ever in the championship. It was a case of getting them all together, getting them fit, getting their system sorted, and also some of the other players stepping up, and it all came together to get that championship. In the summer, no doubt they need to try out a lot of new players, because they didn't really blood that many new players in this championship, but that's the same for most teams, to be fair. So anyway, pop in the comments below what you thought of that Welsh championship, where you think they did well, areas they still need to improve on, and I will catch you next time.